For years, Blake Lively and Taylor Swift had been Hollywood's most photogenic best friends, a rare celebrity pairing that seemed genuine, durable, untouched by the ego and scandal that so often fractured famous bonds. They posted matching Halloween costumes, took each other's kids to birthday parties, and spent long weekends together at Swift's famous Rhode Island mansion. They were, to their fans, the perfect mix, one part gossip girl, one part global pop megastar, and all-American authenticity. But behind the curated Instagram stories and carefully coordinated red carpet moments, cracks had already begun to form. It started quietly, missed replies, postponed hangouts, subtle omissions in interviews. At first, the public chalked it up to busy schedules. But within Taylor's camp, unease was growing. There were rumors, whispers, a sense that someone, somewhere, was leaking things they shouldn't know. Then came the text. It was a warm April Sunday in Madrid. Taylor had just finished rehearsing for a surprise performance she was planning at a private charity event. She was alone in her suite, replaying voice memos she had recorded earlier in the week, raw, emotional reflections on a decision she had been agonizing over for months. That afternoon, she sent a message to Blake. "I need to tell you something, and you have to promise not to tell anyone. Not even Ryan." Blake's response came instantly. "Of course. What's going on?" Taylor hesitated. She stared at her phone for 5 minutes. Then she typed, "I'm going public. About the 2017 thing. The NDA. I can't keep it buried anymore." She added, a minute later, "And I'm naming him. And 3 others." Blake's reply came slower this time. "You sure you want to do this?" Taylor paused. "I've never been more sure." The air in the room felt heavier after she sent it. She placed her phone face down and walked to the window. From her suite, she could see the rooftops of the city glowing in golden hour light. For a moment, she allowed herself to imagine what would follow: the support, the bravery, the necessary chaos. She didn't know she had just started a war. 2 weeks later, a popular gossip account on TikTok called Tea with Tana posted a cryptic video. It featured a blurred-out screenshot of a text thread. The messages were redacted, but Swifties noticed the formatting, the font, the spacing, the use of triple dots and typing bubbles, unmistakably iMessage, and unmistakably Taylor's style. The caption read, "She told the wrong one." The comments exploded. "This looks like Taylor's texts. Is this Blake's phone background in the top corner? Did she screenshot and leak private convos?" Then came the real bomb, a voice memo posted anonymously to a celebrity forum. It was 37 seconds long. A woman's voice, undeniably Blake's, could be heard laughing softly. "She's really doing it. She actually thinks she's some kind of martyr. This is her revenge tour." The clip ended there. Internet detectives, many of them Swifties, got to work. They matched background noise in the clip to audio from a party Blake had attended days earlier. They triangulated timestamps. One user even analyzed vocal cadence to verify the speaker's identity. And the fallout began. Taylor didn't respond. She didn't deny. She didn't even unfollow Blake on Instagram. But her silence said more than any statement could. She was hurt, betrayed, and preparing. A source close to her team leaked a single sentence to People magazine. "We're aware of the leak, and we know exactly who did it." The quote went viral within minutes. Meanwhile, Blake stayed silent publicly. Privately, however, her legal representation began contacting tabloid journalists who were amplifying the clip. They insisted it was a deepfake and unauthorized audio manipulation, but no takedown notices were issued. No cease and desist orders followed. And then came the second leak. This time, a full transcript of Taylor and Blake's dinner conversation in LA, supposedly recorded without Taylor's knowledge. That moment marked a shift in the narrative, from gossip to confrontation. The betrayal was no longer implied. It was confirmed. But Taylor wasn't the only one hurt. Blake's inner circle was fracturing too. Her closest allies were questioning her decisions. Her husband, Ryan Reynolds, reportedly urged her to clear the air and reach out. She didn't. And that silence grew louder by the day. Because Blake knew something no one else did. There were more recordings. And some of them, if exposed, wouldn't just end friendships. They could dismantle reputations, destroy deals, and bring down names that had ruled the industry for decades. And Taylor? She had already begun preparing for the storm. Not to stop it, but to walk straight through it. The morning after the TikTok leak, Taylor Swift's publicist, Tree Payne, sat silently in a soundproof conference room at WME's Los Angeles headquarters. Across from her sat a digital forensics expert hired overnight, flown in from New York to examine the alleged recording. The stakes were clear. If the audio clip was real, not only had Blake Lively betrayed Taylor, she had done it in a way that could be weaponized by the very people Taylor was preparing to expose. The audio file, circulating now in Telegram channels and anonymous gossip subreddits, lasted 44 seconds. A female voice, unmistakably Blake's, said with chilling clarity, "She thinks she's the heroine of some #MeToo sequel. But it's not bravery, it's branding. Taylor doesn't move unless it's been filtered through a 10-person PR team." Then came a laugh. Soft, dismissive. The kind of laugh that cuts deeper than any insult. It ended with a single, brutal sentence. "She's not trying to burn the industry down. She's just trying to sell a new album." The room fell silent after the playback. Payne stood up, pulled out her phone, and dialed one number. Taylor. She didn't pick up. By that afternoon, Taylor Swift had gone entirely dark. No Instagram posts. No close friend stories. No sightings from fans. She had disappeared from public view entirely. Something she hadn't done since the 2016 Kanye-Kim feud left her canceled and radioactive. Meanwhile, Blake was photographed leaving a Brentwood cafe, wearing oversized sunglasses and no smile. Paparazzi called out questions. "Did you leak the tape? Have you spoken to Taylor?" She didn't respond. But the look on her face, hardened, distracted, told the world something had gone terribly wrong. Behind the scenes, Taylor's legal team was already preparing. Not just for damage control, for war. They had reason to believe that the voice memo wasn't a one-off. According to a source embedded in Blake's professional circle, a former assistant who spoke under condition of anonymity, Blake had been quietly collecting things for over a year. Text screenshots, voicemails, notes from casual conversations taken out of context. And she hadn't just been saving them. She had been sharing them with someone. That someone, a partner at the Ginsberg Group, a shadowy but influential crisis PR firm known for reputation demolitions. The same group, insiders whispered, that had quietly helped a now-disgraced producer plant stories discrediting his accusers. Why would Blake do it? Speculation roared. Some claimed Blake had grown tired of being Taylor's accessory, always the bridesmaid in a friendship where she was never the headline. Others believed she was protecting someone, a studio executive, her husband, maybe even herself. But in one corner of the internet, a theory took root that was darker than all the others. A Reddit user posted a now-deleted thread under the alias Clearwater19. It claimed to be from someone who had worked security at an event both Blake and Taylor had attended the month before. According to the post, the two had argued, loudly, in a private suite at the Beverly Hills Hotel, just hours before Taylor's team announced her surprise album Sundown Scripts. Witnesses reported yelling. One word repeated over and over, control. The post ended with a chilling line. If the rest of the recordings exist, Taylor's not the only one who should be afraid. That night, an email hit the inboxes of 5 major entertainment journalists. The subject line read, "If you want the truth about Blake and Taylor, start with the files." Attached was an encrypted zip folder. The sender was anonymous. But the contents? They would be more explosive than anyone imagined. And Taylor hadn't even begun to fight back. The encrypted zip folder spread through newsrooms like a virus. Only 5 outlets received it initially: Rolling Stone, Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, a niche gossip blog called Famous/Not Famous, and a semi-obscure YouTube gossip commentator with under 100,000 followers. Within hours, at least 2 of them had cracked the password. The password, ironically, was a lyric. "I wish you left mind the daylight." A line from Taylor's unreleased track, rumored to be about a betrayal no one could quite identify until now. Inside the folder were 17 audio files, 3 PDFs, and a 31-second video. The files painted a disturbing picture, not just of Blake and Taylor, but of a Hollywood network woven with backroom deals, mutual favors, and quiet coercion. At the center of it all, an untraceable web of influence with connections to a new streaming platform launching in fall 2025, and Blake's husband, Ryan Reynolds, was one of its executive producers. One of the PDFs appeared to be a transcript, a nearly verbatim exchange between Taylor and Blake during a conversation at Soho House in West Hollywood. The transcript had notes, parenthetical cues, tone suggestions. One read, "Taylor, frustrated but attempting calm, why did you tell them about the HBO thing? I told you in confidence." Blake, glancing around, because they asked. And you keep acting like this is just about you. It's not. Taylor, you don't get to decide what's public. That wasn't yours to give. According to the transcript, Blake had leaked details about a then-confidential deal Taylor was negotiating with HBO to produce a docu-series on women in music, the same project a rival streamer mysteriously outbid just weeks later. The docu-series was canned. No explanation. The video was worse. A covert recording, timestamped 6 months earlier, showed a private dinner at a luxury ranch in Montana. Dim lighting. Laughter in the background. At the table, Blake, Ryan Reynolds, 2 executives from the streaming platform, and someone who appeared, based on voice analysis done later by famous/not famous, to be the co-founder of the Ginsberg Group. In the video, a toast is made. Ryan says, to knowing the right time to push the queen off the board. The rest laughed. Blake didn't. She just sipped her wine, eyes distant. The implications were seismic. Whispers of sabotage. Weaponized trust. A slow-motion coup not just of a friendship, but of a career. Taylor's legal team launched an internal investigation within hours. The leaked content, while damaging, was inadmissible in court unless its origin could be verified and its chain of custody established. But there was no denying the psychological damage. The internet erupted with hashtags, theories, alliances. Hashtag stand with Taylor versus hashtag Blake did nothing wrong. Fans of both women turned on each other. Stan accounts were suspended after coordinated reporting. Reddit threads were locked due to ongoing legal risks. Twitter bots, suspected to be deployed by a third-party PR firm, began spreading disinformation campaigns suggesting the recordings were AI-generated. But beneath the noise, something else was happening. Taylor's inner circle was splintering. Haley Steinfeld unfollowed Blake. Gigi Hadid deleted a recent post tagging both. Selena Gomez posted a cryptic Instagram story, if you knew half of it. More importantly, Taylor was no longer silent. On a Thursday morning, her Instagram account, dark for 11 days, posted a single black square. No caption, no music, no explanation. A few hours later, Blake's team canceled all her scheduled appearances for the next month, citing mental health and family priorities. But the war wasn't over. The files were only the beginning. More were coming. And someone very close to both women was about to go public. Not to save one of them, but to burn the whole illusion down. The public had barely processed the files when another shockwave hit. This time, it wasn't a leak, it was a person. Her name was Sasha Weller, a name no one outside the industry had heard before. A 28-year-old former assistant-turned-freelance project coordinator, she had worked for Blake and Ryan intermittently over the past 3 years. Her face first appeared on a grainy Zoom interview uploaded by famous/not famous, the same blog that helped break the contents of the leaked zip folder. Sasha didn't want to be famous. She hadn't planned to speak. But after watching her name surface in metadata from one of the leaked PDF transcripts, identifying her as the note-taker, she claimed she had no choice. I'm not a hero, she said in the interview. I just got tired of watching people twist each other's lives into strategy. She went on to say that for over a year, she had been part of what Blake allegedly called a reputation perimeter, a small circle of employees and collaborators whose job was to monitor press coverage, manage silent stories in the tabloids, and, if necessary, gather private correspondence that could be used to manage power dynamics inside their social group. Taylor was, according to Sasha, the crown jewel in this ecosystem. She was never supposed to be taken down, not completely, Sasha said. Just brought into alignment. Just enough to stop her from doing something unpredictable. When asked what that something was, Sasha paused. She was going to name names. Big names. She had this speech planned, something powerful, honest. It would have ripped a hole through the comfortable lie the industry hides behind. Blake got scared. Not just for herself. For Ryan. For their future in the business. The video went viral within 2 hours. Screenshots of Sasha's calm, unpolished testimony spread across X, Instagram, and Reddit like wildfire. Public opinion shifted again. Suddenly, the narrative wasn't about petty betrayal or jealousy, it was about survival, manipulation, control. And then came the email. Taylor's team released a formal statement on her official website. For the first time since the scandal broke, she spoke directly. I have always believed in using my voice when others are afraid to use theirs. I trusted someone I called a sister. What was done with that trust is not mine to excuse, nor mine to silence. But I will not be bullied out of the truth. In the coming weeks, I will share everything. That final sentence, I will share everything, detonated like a bomb. Taylor had confirmed what fans had suspected. there was more. Much more. And then, the dominoes began to fall. Gigi Hadid posted a thread detailing how she had been approached by someone connected to the Ginsburg group last year, warning her to stay neutral if a certain documentary project moved forward. Cara Delevingne retweeted Sasha's video with a single word: finally. And then, most surprisingly, Ryan Reynolds made a public statement during a tech conference in Austin. His usual quips were gone. He looked tired, unscripted, hollowed out. I'm not going to speak for Blake. She's strong, and she'll tell her story when she's ready. But I made a mistake thinking silence would protect the people I love. He declined to answer further questions. The pressure continued to mount. Taylor's legal team, backed by 2 major firms and a team of digital analysts, confirmed the authenticity of several audio files, including the dinner party toast. Meanwhile, Sasha submitted sworn testimony to the California Attorney General's office, offering to hand over phone logs and backup data. The entertainment world split into factions. Some claimed Taylor was playing the victim card to fuel her next project. Others saw Blake's moves as a calculated power play to shield her family and brand from fallout tied to bigger scandals that had yet to break. But the most shocking moment came when Taylor announced a live-streamed event. It would be called The Quiet Room. What you were never meant to hear. No one knew exactly what it was. A documentary? A performance? A legal disclosure? All they knew was that it was scheduled for Friday, June 13th. A date that Swifties noted had personal significance to Taylor. It was the date her mother had received her first cancer diagnosis. The date she had once called the day I stopped pretending. The countdown had begun. Blake's team, meanwhile, went silent. No statements. No legal threats. No interviews. Because Blake Lively wasn't preparing for PR. She was preparing for war. And the next move would not be played in public. It would be in court. The courtroom wasn't a circus. It was colder than that. Modern, metallic. No cameras. No reporters allowed. But outside, the sidewalks of downtown Los Angeles were flooded with fans, journalists, protesters, and pop culture vultures eager to catch a glimpse of what many were calling the trial of trust. Taylor Swift versus Blake Lively was never filed under those names. Officially, it was a civil case, Swift Entertainment, LLC v. Lively Holdings and Associates, but no one was fooled. This wasn't about corporate disputes. This was about betrayal, ambition, and the truth beneath Hollywood's manicured surface. The charge: unauthorized dissemination of confidential communications. The allegation was simple in form, complex in proof. Taylor's legal team argued that Blake had collected and distributed private communications, some via intermediaries, others through direct handoffs to third-party PR consultants. In a deliberate campaign to undermine Taylor's credibility ahead of a planned expose, Blake's side pushed back hard. They argued that the recordings had been taken during conversations in mixed professional and personal settings, and thus did not qualify for full confidentiality. They accused Taylor of weaponizing emotional relationships and misrepresenting mutual power dynamics. It was an ugly defense, brutal, meticulous, and strategic. They weren't trying to win sympathy. They were trying to burn the field around Taylor and walk through the smoke untouched. But Taylor's team had something stronger: witnesses. When Sasha Weller took the stand, the entire court hushed. Her testimony had already changed public opinion. Now it had to hold up under oath. Calm and unwavering, she described Blake's reputation strategy in surgical detail. Everything was about control, she said. Not just public image. Emotional leverage. Who owed who? Who had something to lose? She described long evenings where assistants were told to archive text exchanges from group chats, code voice memos by emotion, fear, frustration, vanity, and hold on to the kind of things that might be useful later. She didn't say blackmail, Sasha clarified. She said leverage. That was the word. Under cross-examination, Blake's lawyers tried to paint her as a disgruntled employee. They brought up a contract dispute from 2023. Sasha didn't flinch. I was paid well, she said, but not enough to be complicit forever. On the third day of proceedings, Taylor Swift herself took the stand. It was a moment few expected. Her legal team had argued that she didn't need to. The evidence spoke for itself. But Taylor insisted. Dressed in a simple navy suit, no visible makeup, she addressed the room like she was addressing a stadium of 80,000 fans, only quieter, more deliberate. I never wanted this to happen, she said. Not publicly. Not like this. She described the moment she realized her trust had been broken, how she couldn't sleep after hearing her own words twisted, how the silence from Blake after the leaks felt worse than the leaks themselves. "I built a career on storytelling," she said. "But no one teaches you how to tell the story when the villain is someone you used to call your sister." There wasn't a dry eye in the gallery. Even one of Blake's own paralegals was seen wiping her cheek. But this wasn't just about friendship. Taylor pivoted toward the bigger picture. "I was planning to speak out. About abuse. About systemic intimidation in our industry. I had names, timelines, receipts, and I trusted her with that. Not because I needed her permission, but because I thought I had her respect." She paused. A deep breath. What scared her wasn't the story. It was the silence that would follow, the brands pulling out, the producers getting exposed, the illusion breaking. It wasn't a mic drop. It was a scalpel, cutting straight into the mythology of celebrity safety nets. Blake never took the stand. Her legal team advised against it, too risky, too emotional. But she released a written statement on the final day of trial. "I regret the pain my actions cost. I do not deny that boundaries were crossed. But I reject the narrative that I was acting out of cruelty. I made choices out of fear, out of a desire to protect the life I built. That doesn't make it right. But it makes it human." Public response was split. Some praised her humility. Others said she dodged accountability. The jury deliberated for 2 days. The court ruled in Taylor's favor. The judgment, $8.3 million in damages. Not a financial death sentence for Blake, but a public reckoning that would ripple through Hollywood's elite. More importantly, the ruling validated the heart of the case, that privacy, even among stars, isn't a currency to be traded. In the months that followed, several major agencies revised their contracts to protect client-to-client communications. Streaming platforms added clauses to prevent interpersonal sabotage from affecting professional agreements. And Taylor's Quiet Room special, reworked into a hybrid documentary and spoken-word event, premiered to record-breaking numbers on Max. As for Blake, she took a step back. No films, no interviews, no posts. Her once glowing public image now cast in complex shadow. And Taylor? She thrived, but not out of revenge, out of resolve. In the final moments of the Quiet Room, she looked directly into the camera and said, "Not all stories need to end with forgiveness. Some just need to end with the truth." And with that, the lights dimmed. The screen went black. And the credits rolled on the most unforgettable friendship Hollywood ever tried to bury.